Hi everyone, my name is Chanel J. Wilson, and today I just want to talk about what's going on with the human beings on North Sentinel Island and just the whole situation surrounding that with the tourist slash missionary slash guy who trespassed on this protected island. You're so commanding, and not so reprimanding. I stand in awe of your presence. You live it up today. You live it up today. You can you come my way? You wanna make love today. So, this man, and I need to get his name. I guess that part might not be as important, but what happened was he felt that he was being called to be a missionary and go over there and witness to the people on North Sentinel Island. And the people who have been there, they've been there for over 66,000 years, uncolonized, living off that land. Some reports I've read call them primitive. What I enjoyed about hearing their story when I first heard about it a few years ago was that they're uncolonized, so they're able to live freely off that land and still have their tribe and culture intact for as long as it's been in existence for the last 66,000 years. Um, Now, one report I read, they said that they fired a warning shot to the guy the first day when it happened. So they weren't trying to actually kill him, it seems like. But they did fire a warning shot, like, dude, you shouldn't trespass here. And then he came back the next day, and they actually did have to go ahead and protect themselves because one of the reports I read was that um, them coming in contact with our diseases and them not having any vaccines or being exposed to our diseases over 66,000 years could wipe them out within months. The whole tribe, the whole island. And the people that have been there, they've survived so many devastations, different tsunamis. And, it's really sad that people want to go over there and try to disturb that. Just let it be, you know? What I noticed with that, I was reading something someone had put up where they were talking about the missionary, and he was like, even if I live or if I die, I feel like I'm doing God's work. And someone was like, it'd be really beautiful if those people could be worshiping God, with their native tongue. And when I read that, I was like, what makes you think they're not worshiping God? The fact that they've been there and been protected for so long, the tsunamis that came, they thought that it was going to actually take out that land. And then when people went over to check on them to see if they were okay, as soon as they were seen off that shore, the people with the arrows came right out, so they knew that they survived it. So if they're so able to survive without our quote unquote technology, what makes you think that they're a godless people? I almost thought of Wakanda Forever. I hope that's not being disrespectful. But one thing about Black Panther, the movie, the things that I liked about Black Panther was seeing a society uncolonized and imagining what life would have been like had we not experienced colonization, specifically, black people of all the diaspora, if we were allowed to just remain in our primitive state and allowed to function the way we were called to function versus assimilate in colonization. As I looked at the people from some of the videos, I was like, I wouldn't have to deal with some of the diseases I deal with now. Probably wouldn't be overweight because I'd be living in a hunter-gatherer society. And as I'm 37, I think about that and think about the simplicity of life. I appreciate those people's culture and I appreciate the primitiveness because there's things that we deal with in this colonized situation we wouldn't have to deal with if we were in a hunter-gatherer society. So, it always goes back to, who has it better. And as far as I'm concerned, based on what I'm learning and what I've learned about this world and what I see out of those people and the humanity, I'm just like, I think that's beautiful that they were able to stay intact for so long. And, I don't think I'm better than them at all. I think in some aspects they have it better because they still have that simplicity, their family's intact. And they don't have to deal with colonization and all that comes with it. Um, there was a report on Twitter today where, in that report, I'll post a link on it because it was a very long thread, but it was an awesome thread. And what the thread talked about was that there was this man that came to their island in the 1800s, and he basically took a lot of risque photos and fetish type stuff with them, and then ended up kidnapping two. It was basically a family, a husband, wife, and children. The husband and wife ended up dying immediately when they came off the island because, like I said, of the being exposed to the various diseases, just some simple as probably like an allergy or a sneeze. So they immediately passed on. They could not be sustained. But the children were left in that state with this man, and he was able to freely do the things, whatever he did, and then he sent them back. Well, of course, those children gave a report. And so it's believed that whatever that man did, the people on the island are like, we're not going to put up with that. It's so interesting when you understand colonization and how many, when I say many, I mean there are all these stories about, oh, we're going to go to the poor children in Africa, or we're going to go to the poor people in this region or that region. And the people on North Sentinel Island, this is in India, by the way, but they're Africans. They are black. And so they're trying to figure out how they got there. So then like that, when the world was changing, there's stories that said that you could walk across. So it's interesting to know their story. I mean, like I said, without disturbing them, we should be able to do some research and figure it out. But when you deal with colonies and colonization and the narrative behind that, it's always, oh, we're saving you from this savagery, or we're saving you from this savage life. And it's just like, who said we were savages? When you look at the Moors and how the Moors taught the Europeans so much just about organization, about not having your livestock inside of your home, and just the various teachings and educations and sciences and all the very things that we hold dear to our heart came from the Moors. It puts so much into perspective. Back to the part about Black Panther. That movie had a lot going on, and for me, the parts that I enjoyed were the land uncolonized, the land untapped, the land just being a place where it's you and your own, and you're able to freely thrive and live and still move out as far as have a meeting with the rest of the nations, but still go back to your own tribe. So that's what I enjoyed about that whole Wakanda forever, spirit. But then, of course, there are elements of the movie where the war between the African and African American, and the many shots that were taken on African Americans, learning who the real villain was. Was Killmonger really the villain? And I can honestly say now, when I watch that movie, I don't see him as a villain at all. I think he had it right. I watched it again for like the third time on Netflix, and I was just like, yeah. I don't see Killmonger as a villain at this point. I do understand the code of Wakanda and the code of the land and all of that, and seeing that was brilliant and beautiful and all of that. But at the same time, this system of oppression, this system of always trying to dominate and conquer, why did this guy feel that he had to go out there and witness to these people? What made him think that, with all the years of experience that he had, or the years of encounters with God that he did have, what made him think that he was going to go over there? And I don't know. I mean, he doesn't even know the language, whatever the language is. He doesn't. There's so many factors to that. So it just really shows who we are as a people, and how we need to respect the humanity of other people, and respect the humanity of simplicity. I think about how I used to think when I was a young girl. Oh, I live in America. I have access to all this stuff. I could be anywhere, but I have access to all these things. And then as I grew older and learned about the details of America and what that looked like, what that entailed, I stopped saying that really quickly. When I served as a clergy minister, I used to say stupid things like, had we not been brought over here, and when I think about it now, I really just like, wow, that's once again right here. That was my mindset. Who would I be? What kind of person would I be? Oh, I'm grateful for my experience, even though I don't like what happened to us. I'm grateful, and now when I look back on it, I'm like, who says we didn't have those things when we were in our native place, in our native land? So it goes back to that colonized mind. When you look at mission trips and missionary work, and you really look at it, and then you combine that with colonization, and then see how they both go hand in hand, how they'll go and devastate a land, devastate a people, then turn around and send missionaries to go help them from the devastation that was caused by the same group who's being the mission. Like, it's very frustrating to know that people, that this is what our societies are built on. It's so devastating to know that. It's so disheartening to accept that that's the culture we live in. I loved when I went on Twitter how everyone was on one accord with, we should not be coming against the people on North Sentinel Island. They fought off a predator. He trespassed on their land. Therefore, they had to do what they had to do. They had to protect their people. Who's to say what kind of diseases he could have brought to them and that would have wiped them out, And a lot of people had those same feelings and sentiments. Just as I was reading, and like I said, there was a couple of think pieces. I think there was one group that was saying, oh, they should be tried and judged. And it was like, for what? Protecting their land? Like, think about that. Protecting their land. So it's just one of those things. Like, some people were like, oh, they could come see all the glorious things that they could have over here. They can see, they can have a computer. They can look at technology. They can get on an airplane. And it's just like tools. Everything we have is a tool, but we abuse our tools a lot. And then it stops being a tool. It starts becoming an addiction. I think about my addiction, and I say it just like that, my addiction to social media. And I know when I'm using the platform for a tool and as a tool. And then I know. Nathan, can I finish talking? And then I know when I'm abusing the tool and when I'm just using it to sedate. And when I'm binge watching to the point where I've, ate a whole bag of potato chips and all these different things. And finally I'd be like, I need to get outside and walk. I need to just put my phone down and walk away. I need to get some air on my skin. I need to walk. One time I was in the grocery store and I thought, what would it be like to live in a hunter-gatherer society if we didn't hunt for sport, but we actually hunted because we had to get a meal? It goes right back to the simplicity of life, and just thinking about what that looks like. And, that's what those people still live and hold dear. And we shouldn't demean them because that's the life they're living. We should reflect on our own life and look at in what areas in our life are we abusing certain spaces where it's robbing us of our humanity and the beauty of our humanity. Like I said, when I looked at some of the people as they ran onto the shore, some of them were holding up their arrows. And, because in that society they just have different leaves covering up certain private areas. And I just thought, man, I probably would not know what being overweight felt like if I lived in a hunter-gatherer society. Man, I started thinking about my American problems, the things that are that are inherently born out of living in a consumer lifestyle. And I said, wow, what would that look like? So it really seeing the people in their state really challenged me. It really challenged me in a good way. There's so much more I could talk about with this story, but as you take a look, think about things in your own life. where we could just find some appreciation and some form of gratefulness for being a human being, enjoying the air, the earth, connecting back to the earth, and then looking at how the spirit of that community was. They're so on code, just like how when you watch Wakanda, I looked at how they were so on code. And like I said, I hope I'm not being disrespectful doing the comparison, but it's like our modern day, that is our modern day, you know, Wakanda kind of experience. And so just be at, I always say be at peace. I learned from so many different cultures. I learned from so many different groups. I learned from just taking certain things in. And so, yeah, just, if there's something that I said in this, please comment, subscribe to the channel. Let's have a dialogue about this. We've gotten things so backwards in humanity that we're losing sense of just who we really are, and we're hiding behind filters, So that's my reflective thoughts on what's going on in North Sentinel Island. I'm Janelle J. Wilson, and I'll be back for more.